You ever wake up to something so stupid you have to laugh just to keep from breaking something? That's what happened to me. $800 fine, taped right to my door, bold letters. Carter, pay up or pack your bags. Apparently, I'd committed the unpardonable sin of unauthorized scenery, which, in my case, meant cleaning up a garbage-choked lake, planting some cattails, and putting in solar lights so kids wouldn't bust their knees at night. Guess I missed the memo. Since when is doing the right thing a crime? But in Willowbrook Estates, where the HOA's always watching, it felt like every good deed was a target on my back. You know what I mean? There's a particular madness that comes with reading a legal threat over something as dumb as aesthetic modifications. Nearly $1,000 in fines for scenery. I'm not kidding. This notice was taped to my door like some kind of ransom note, and I just stared at it. I used to be a paralegal before I started fixing boats for a living, so I know how to read fine print, and I know a bluff when I see one. This thing was citing Section 4.7 of the HOA Covenant, a section that doesn't exist in the 12-page document I read front to back before buying my house. So, I call up the HOA management, Brookstone Property, and ask them straight out, can they show me Section 4.7? The woman on the line, Linda, fumbles a bit, tries to sound official, but I can practically hear her Googling it in real time. The committee chair cited it specifically, she says. That'd be Deb Whitfield, new on the block, dresses like she's running for office, always raising concerns. I check my copy. No 4.7, no made-up landscaping rule, just a max $50 fine for actual violations. Now I'm in full detective mode. I walk over to see Maggie Thompson, my neighbor, retired schoolteacher, 15 years on the board, knows the HOA rules better than the people who wrote them. She looks over the citation, and her eyes go from curious to mad to downright insulted. They want $1,000 for fixing the lake, she says, and I know I'm not crazy. Maggie glances around, motions me onto her porch, and starts flipping through a photo album like she's about to show me classified intel. You need to know who you're dealing with, she whispers. Turns out, Deb only got her seat after the last chair left unexpectedly, and Maggie won't say more but drops hints about Deb's obsession with property values, especially mine. Just as we're talking, our other neighbor, the banker's wife, wanders over. She's heard about my violation. Soon, the retired cop from across the street joins in, and now we're a full-blown jury. The officer takes one look at my fine and calls it creative paperwork, says it doesn't even match the HOA's usual format. So who's Deb trying to fool exactly? I spend that night combing through my own records and asking Brookstone for an official copy of the covenant. When I finally get the new version, now bloated to 20 pages, I spot whole sections I've never seen before. Penalties for scenery, authority to do just about anything. It's a dictatorship on paper, and Deb's fingerprints are all over it. The real twist comes when I start hearing from neighbors that Deb's making the rounds, talking about my project as if I'm a danger to the community. She said your lights are a liability. The banker's wife tells me, like I'm running a public hazard instead of fixing up an eyesore. She claims you're dragging the whole neighborhood into legal trouble. Classic play. Turn the victim into the villain. She never produces evidence, just confident talk, and people get spooked. Now, I know this is bigger than a fake fine. Deb's running a campaign. Psychological, bureaucratic, all of it. The retired cop says she even brought up insurance risks if kids got hurt around my lake. Funny thing, he kept a notebook, military habit, and showed me how Deb's story changed depending on who she was talking to. That's when it hit me. Someone's trying to scare the whole street into submission. Back to Maggie. She finally confides she was on the founding board when Willowbrook was built. She knows for a fact the HOA doesn't have half the power Deb's pretending. But Deb's smart. She only bends the truth, never quite breaks it, making it harder to challenge her outright. Then Vince Morales, the vice chair, shows up waving what looks like an official committee folder, another copy of the fake 20-page covenant. Maybe there's some confusion about versions, he says, but when pressed, admits Deb gave him all his training material. Now I'm thinking, is he in on it, or just another pawn? And then the games escalate. One morning, I step outside and see massive privacy drapes blocking the walking path by the lake, professionally installed, overnight, with a sign quoting, you guessed it, fake Section 4.7. I call Vince. Deb felt it was important for community harmony, he says. Maybe we can talk before you go to the county. That's the part that spooks me. Deb knows every move I make almost before I make it. Maggie, bless her, starts digging. Turns out, Deb's a licensed real estate agent, specializing in lakefront properties that tend to sell soon after she makes life miserable for their owners. The old committee chair, forced out after a blitz of violations, shed 6 inches too close to the fence, mailbox the wrong shade. Once he sold, Deb stepped in. Vince, meanwhile, has been unintentionally feeding Deb information. Maggie caught him by seeding a rumor about me lawyering up, which Deb repeated back to the banker's wife within days. It gets weirder. Before I can file an official complaint about the drapes, the county calls me about a complaint already filed, in my name, by Deb herself. She's trying to preemptively control the story, make it look like I'm the problem. But now the county's involved, and their code enforcement officer quickly sees the installation is illegal, no permits, blocking a public easement. Vince, now visibly rattled, tries to file more paperwork and is told by the county none of it's real. Nothing he's been given holds up. Suddenly, everything's unraveling. I get hit with a mountain of paperwork, 7 envelopes in one day, each with more made-up violations, more threats of escalating fines. Over $3,000 total. The county calls again. Mr. Carter, we've received 14 complaints about your property since yesterday, all citing the same committee authority. This is coordinated warfare, information overload designed to confuse everyone, especially the authorities. Linda from Brookstone calls with the first real lifeline. The management company's legal team is involved, and their insurance carrier is threatening to drop coverage unless the rogue enforcement stops. That means real consequences. By the time we all sit down for an emergency meeting, me, Linda, the regional manager, legal counsel, code enforcement, Deb, and Vince, the truth comes out. The fake 20-page covenant Deb's been using? Not on file anywhere, never ratified, total fabrication. The legal team lays it out. 37 unauthorized fines in 6 months, $6,000 stolen from residents. Vince, to his credit, finally speaks up. I try to verify the documents. Deb, they don't exist. The room goes silent. Deb's confidence cracks as the management company makes clear, this is fraud, not just a paperwork mix-up. They suspend all committee authority, call the state ombudsman, and freeze Deb out of the board. It should have ended there. But of course, that's not how these stories go. A real estate developer shows up at my door with an offer to buy my house at 20% above market. No inspections, cash deal. He claims he monitors communities experiencing governance challenges and, wouldn't you know, works with local realtors to identify opportunities. Deb's name doesn't come up, but after he leaves, I call Maggie. She's seen the same thing happen before, right before the last chair got railroaded out. She opens her photo album and shows me a real estate brochure using photos of my lake, without permission. The listing agreement is signed by Deb herself, who stands to profit whether I sell willingly or get harassed out. That's when Vince calls, furious. He's found emails between Deb and the development company. He was recruited for his military discipline, to give cover for fake enforcement and identify owners vulnerable to pressure. He'd been unwittingly helping her target the best properties. Linda calls with the bombshell. They found evidence of coordination between Deb, the committee, and outside investors. Wire fraud, conspiracy, use of community resources for personal profit, the works. The insurance company escalates to a full fraud investigation. Maggie calls, practically out of breath. Evan, the FBI is at my door. This thing is national. 12 communities, millions in fake fines, all run by Deb's little network. The FBI calls, wants to know everything. They interview me, Vince, and Maggie. Deb tries one last, desperate move, shows up at an emergency board meeting with fake state emergency powers documents, complete with forged signatures. This time, even the vice chair turns on her. Deb, I helped you write these this morning, he says, and that's all she wrote. Arrested on the spot for fraud, forgery, obstruction. The ombudsman lays out the plan. All fake fines voided, all committee power suspended, and state oversight until new elections. Maggie gets elected to chair the new board. Vince heads oversight, and they set up a legal support fund, named after my $800 unauthorized scenery ticket. Regular compliance audits, mandatory state filings, Conflict of interest disclosures. No more backroom power grabs. 3 months later, a restitution check arrives, covering all my expenses, lost work, and then some. Our story makes the rounds. Delegations from other communities show up to learn how to spot and fight organized HOA fraud. Our experience becomes a template. Document everything, cooperate with real authorities, and don't be afraid to question official rules. 1 year on, Willowbrook is the model for how to recover after a fraud. The lake's cleaner than ever, the solar lights shine at night, and neighbors actually talk to each other again. I hang a sign by the lake, scenery authorized by true law, protected by informed community. And sometimes I just sit out back, watching kids run by, and think, it all started with a fake fine for doing something good. Funny how trying to scare one stubborn boat mechanic out of his own home ended up cleaning out an entire criminal network. So, what do you think? Was it justice, or just another chapter in the endless war between homeowners and the people who claim to run things? Drop a comment below, tell me where you stand on all this. And hey, hit like, thanks, whatever you want. Let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, take care of your scenery, and don't let anyone tell you it's unauthorized.